I have a question for you guys. How often do you replay your favourite games, or games in general, assuming that you've previously beaten them before? And on the same note, and this is a bit of a differently motivated question, how often do you continue playing a game that doesn't necessarily end just because you enjoy it? Because those two things are two different questions that end up with the same outcome. And one is apparently very looked down upon on the internet for some reason. I'll show you that in a sec. And the other one is very normalised and nobody cares whatsoever. I'll explain what I mean by that in a sec. Let me show you the comment that inspired this video. So I made a video where somebody asked me what my favourite games are. You know, your favourite games would typically be games that you've probably played decently frequently. And I have a spreadsheet that I use to keep track of the games that I've beaten and when I've beaten them. So I was able to look at how many times I've beaten said favourite games. And those favourite games are the Borderlands games, the Dark Souls games, Ark and Minecraft. Okay? And this dude comments, and this is what has inspired this video, me asking you guys questions. Stop playing games more than once. There are too many amazing games to get through to bother playing the same game twice. And also, Borderlands, several question marks, of all the games you have played, Borderlands, nah. I mean, I'm trying to be rational here. I really am. So the question at the start, the reason I framed it as such is because this comment I've gotten was on my last YouTube video. This is the sort of thing that I get frequently on TikTok where you expect not very well thought through comments because it's TikTok. That's the nature of the platform. You come to accept it when you've made 10,000 videos there, you can predict what people are going to do and say. But say somebody plays Minecraft or Fortnite, Ark, Call of Duty, Battlefield, FIFA, UFC, Rainbow Six, any sort of multiplayer game that is largely the same repeatedly over time. Generally, I don't see people having much of a problem with people who do that. But when I talk about how I replay games and have replayed games tons of times over, on TikTok, usually, not YouTube, because again, YouTube I see as the more rational, more, critical thinking leveled platform, although I'm beginning to be proven wrong there. On TikTok anyway, I get a ton of comments saying, you should play different games you've never played before, in which case my answer to that generally is, I promise you that I have played more games that I have never played before this year than you have. And that isn't a flex, that is just a fact, because again, I've got my spreadsheet, I can go through it. Like, let's do that, I'm curious. Let's go put some numbers to this. I would love to know how many games I've played through this year that I've never played before. Let's go have a look. But while I scroll to this year, like I said, I want you guys to comment. How often do you replay games that you've beaten before? I'm curious, because I bet it's not as uncommon as people think. I don't understand why it would be uncommon. And regardless, if we're being truthfully honest here, I do not understand in any which way, shape or form why people on the internet believe that they get to have a say in how other people play games. I've been making gaming videos for years now, and I've had hundreds if not thousands of people complain about the way that I play games, and I think that's absurd. I'm sorry, I just don't think there's any rational position that can be used to support this argument. It's not like it was framed as a question where it was framed as, oh, how come you don't play games that you've not played before? Where I could just be like, oh, I do. It's just that I play so many games that I often circle back to things I've played before. That's an unreasonable one. But saying, stop playing games you've played before, as if you get a say, is wild to me. Anyway, let's count up, shall we? Okay, so, High on Life, that's 1. Turok, that's 2. Far Cry, 3. Far Cry 2, 4. Far Cry New Dawn, 5. Blood Dragon, 6. I'm going to keep going here. Fire Red is 7, because usually I do Leaf Green. Lies of P is 8. Cyberpunk is 9. Rise of Ronin is 10. Another Crab's Treasure. Oh, hang on. Let me just scroll up for you guys. Another Crab's Treasure is 12. 007 Quantum of Solace is 13. Here we go. Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. That makes 16. Ultimate Spider-Man makes 17. Web of Shadows is 18. Friend or Foe is 19. Shattered Dimensions is 20. Edge of Time is 21. Amazing Spider-Man 2 is 22. Incredibles Rise of the Underminer is 23. Ratchet & Clank 24. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. And then Silent Hill, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. So I had a massive block of games there where I'd played through tons of games that I'd never played through before or beaten. So like for months I played exclusively things that were brand new to me. So then I went back to my comfort games that I've played before with the Dark Souls. What were we on, about 42? I'm not sure, I'm losing track, but we were definitely above 40, right? But now it's going to be a bit again. So we'll call it 43, I'm kind of losing track. So Wukong is 43. Captain America is 44. 45 for Dead Rising Remaster. 46 for Silent Hill 2 Remake. And 47 for Sparking Zero. So, let's see, right? Of the 106 games that I have beaten this year so far, almost half of them are brand new games. 46. If we're being truly honest here, do we think that the original comment comes from somebody that has played through and beaten anywhere near 46 or whatever I counted to games they've never played this year before? So again, not a flex. Anyone that follows me and likes me, granted I know I make that hard sometimes, I'm very objective. I'm very numerically driven, and I will, if we're making points and arguments and debates, numbers can't be defeated. Numbers are objective. Numbers don't care about your emotions. Emotionally, somebody is annoyed that I play games I've beaten before. It's a strange thing to be annoyed about straight away. Sorry, it is. I come back with the data saying, I do play a lot of games I've beaten before, but I also play a lot of games that I haven't. Here's all the games. I would hazard a guess, it's probably more than you. Where do we go from there? You know? It's wild to me. I don't understand. For example, earlier on today, I announced on TikTok that I was going to be playing through the Resident Evil games, and when I said I wasn't going to play Resident Evil 6, predictably, as always happens, because again, I can always predict when people are going to do this on TikTok, I generally hope for better of YouTube, but recently there have been a few slip through. I had people going, oh, the whole franchise playthrough doesn't count if you don't play 6. I'm like, I don't want to play 6 because I don't like 6. I've beaten 6 before. For example, data. On the 15th of August 2019, I beat Resident Evil 6. And then, on the 12th of October 2020, I beat Resident Evil 6. And then, on the 27th of May 2022, I beat Resident Evil 6. So in future Resident Evil retrospective playthroughs, I have made the decision that I shall not be playing Resident Evil 6 because I didn't like it. And, again, if we're being real here, I don't need to be justifying this. You can play however you like. I don't get it. Like, bro, you... I don't know if that dude's watching, probably not, because it was a TikTok comment, but it's like, you can always go and play Resident Evil 6 yourself if you liked it. Go for it. No one's stopping you. No one's telling you you're wrong. Don't need to take it as an affront to your character. I don't get it. Like, I don't understand the perspective of the people that leave these comments, because I feel like with a bit of critical thought, you would never leave these comments in the first place, because why would you presume to be able to tell somebody else how to play games? And like I said at the start of this video, it is very, very common for people to play their favourite games, usually multiplayer stuff, or like stuff that doesn't necessarily traditionally end, all the time, and nobody bats an eye. But play something more than once that happens to have credits, and people lose their minds. I have genuinely had people... Oh, great, guys. Generally, you guys that follow me on YouTube are of an older audience than my TikTok crew, and I love you for it, trust me, because I can generally lose my mind a little bit less. You know how, for the last 10 years or so, a lot of games that have released have been Oscar bait, where they are doing their absolute best to be all about the story and gameplay as a secondary thought. Like, if we're being real here, that is a very common thing, where games come out these days and they care more about the story and trying to drive emotions from people than they do the gameplay. That's just a thing that's been a thing. I'm not commenting on the quality of the game itself when they do that. That is just a format of game that has been very successful in recent years. Because of that, there is an entire generation of youngsters, if we're being real, like 21 and below, that do not understand that you can replay a game because you enjoyed the moment-to-moment gameplay, not just the story. So, for example, I think it was Borderlands at one point, which, if we're being real here, Borderlands, the story is crap. Like, Borderlands 1 is one of my favourite games ever, right? But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's got a Last of Us or God of War level story, because of course it doesn't. But it's the moment-to-moment gameplay loop that I love, and it keeps me engaged and keeps me coming back. But because there have been so many large games that focus solely on the story and less on the gameplay, there are now comments that I get on TikTok from these younger ones that don't understand replaying a game, because why the comments are usually something along the lines of, why would you replay a game when you already know what's going to happen in the story? And it just goes, it blows my mind, because it's like you'd replay it because you enjoyed the gameplay and how it plays, the same way people play football over and over again, even though the story of football is the same, or chess or any other game. And I feel like people my age or older know this, just they play games because they enjoy games, and the gameplay. There was a time where story was the secondary thought and gameplay was the primary thought. Generally, games that do both equally are the ones that succeed the hardest. But I feel like these days it is almost very exceedingly common that story is primary, the primary focus, and gameplay is secondary. It's wild to me. But yeah, the original question of the video: how often do you guys replay your favourite games? I'm curious.